Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
When I'm having a bad day, I just call Scott and I say, "Can you do my intro real quick, please? I have a gift for you."
Well,
So today is unofficially the first day of the Mardi Gras season.
okay.
And you're in Mobile, which is the home of Mardi Gras. The Mardi Gras originated here. I don't care what Eric Garcia says.
It did. That's the truth.
It did. Mobile's New Orleans mayor every year actually has to write a letter to Mobile's mayor asking permission to have Mardi Gras in New Orleans. You cannot have Mardi Gras without king cake.
I'll be damned.
So I got you a piece of king cake, and I thought you needed a little bit of good luck. So I gave you the piece with the baby.
I'll be
in
damned.
it.
Awesome,
For those of
dude.
you that don't know, the baby in the king cake represents baby Jesus, and if you get the piece of cake with the baby in it, that means it's good luck. So that is a cream cheese king cake from Rouse's Markets. Before anybody from Louisiana listening says I didn't get the right king cake, Rouse's originated in Louisiana. Those came from Louisiana. So
Bradley, what is this? It kind of looks like a bagel, or
it's kind of like a cinnamon roll. It's kind of like a big cinnamon roll. Yeah, and
Okay.
you don't have to eat it right now.
I hope not, because
Yeah.
I'd be kind of hard to podcast.
It's very good.
Thank you for that. I
Absolutely. I sent Shelby to the grocery store this morning to get it just for you.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I saw her eating king cake out there. I
Yeah.
was like, man, somebody's already getting. So last night, I got two stories to tell. Then we're going to get to our all-star guest today, because this is a big podcast episode. Been a long time coming, hasn't it? Two stories. I was walking down the street last night. Bradley and I, about once every 2 years, literally 2 years, we get to have dinner together. And last night was our once every 2 years to have dinner together. Appreciate you buying dinner. We had a great time, but I was walking back and I saw this sign about, rent out the balcony for Mardi Gras. And I sent you a text about it this morning, but I still say maybe that's not the right location to do it in, but I still say a great team building exercise for your agency would be to get with somebody like a Tyndall that has all these contacts that own buildings downtown and rent out a balcony and let your whole team come down there and watch a parade.
We did last year. We did a
think
Mardi
that'd be
Gras.
fun.
We did a Mardi Gras get together here at the office because the parade route's a block away.
Oh, so you can just
Because
basically
getting
walk
down
out.
there and parking is a nightmare. Now, that being said, I have multiple friends I've got one friend in particular that's got a balcony right on the route that every year is like, y'all come by, but it's just such a pain in the butt to get there.
Really?
You'll never go. Yeah.
Because parking and
you got to park 8 blocks away and, hope you don't get mugged on the way there and all that sort of stuff.
And these Mardi Gras parades, I know there's different ones. How long does each parade last? Is it like 10, 15 minutes, an hour?
So you'll have some that there'll be 3 associations on one parade. Those are a little long. And that's usually around like Joe Cane Day and Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
You'll have like this organization, and they're back to back to back to back.
Right.
Those are like an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
Each?
Total.
Okay.
But a singular, one group parade is 30 minutes.
So can I ask a stupid question? This is somebody who's never been to a Mardi Gras or parade or anything. But are the women on the floats like showing
No.
boobies and all that? Like
None of that happens. at
okay,
Mardi Gras.
a lot of them are dressed up, right? Aren't these like associations or like each one is like a social
Correct.
social club kind of thing? Okay, that's really cool.
Mobile is the you think of all the debauchery that goes on in New Orleans, Mardi Gras. Mobile is the
Tamed.
family friendly,
tamed down version.
Yeah, it's the Mobile as it relates to New Orleans is the sister that went to college and
Right.
got the degree and
Sure.
made all the right decisions in life.
Yeah,
and
right,
New
right.
Orleans is the
Opposite.
black
That's
sheep
great.
of the family. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, as I said earlier, guys, we've got an all-star guest on today, and this has been a long time coming. It's somebody that I've wanted to have on this podcast for a long time. I know Bradley and I have talked about it, mentioned it in passing before having her on the show, but really, I think blessed and humbled to have you here today. I love having in-person guests too, so
Thank you.
I want to give her the introduction that she's always deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, she was originally from Mobile, Alabama, and currently resides in Satsuma, Alabama. She is married to the ruggedly handsome David and is a graduate of Indiana University and has been in the insurance business, I know, for give or take 13, 14 years, but started with Millsaps and Associates as a producer and is now, today, an agent and director of sales. Here it comes, guys, the big reveal for Portal Insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you my friend, Miss Natasha May. How are you,
You
Natasha?
threw my middle name in there. I love it.
Yeah.
I almost didn't put that because I figured you
When
would.
Scott says people's names, he says their whole name.
I do like to say their
Like
whole name.
Danielle Glover, Clinton Orr.
Yeah,
You
I
say
do.
their whole name.
I
I've
do.
always noticed that about you.
I don't know why I do that.
Hey, we got breaking news in the insurance industry.
Oh
Not to
boy.
interrupt.
Oh boy.
48 minutes ago, Ryan Specialty announced that they are acquiring Velocity Risk
Oh, wow.
for $585 million.
Okay.
Anyway,
Somebody's gonna get the big check and get to go to the house, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Natasha, we've got so much to talk. I know you've been a blessing in Bradley's life. You've been here for, seems like 400 years, but I mean, I think it's been what 3-4 years you've been here at Portal.
5.5.
5.5. And you've done a lot of cool stuff since you've been here. You've really helped him grow this agency and taking on a few different roles. Let's go back and get in my DeLorean for a minute because I didn't want to say this in your bio, but I know that you started out in a different career before getting into the insurance industry as an advocate for people with disabilities. Kind of walk me through like what you were doing then and then how you tripped and fell and landed in the insurance business. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was living in Oklahoma at the time, and they had a huge lawsuit back in the 80s. And from that, they developed a system for people with disabilities that is probably the best in the nation compared to other states, especially, unfortunately, Alabama.
we're last in everything
Well,
except
and
football.
Well, kind of not.
we're struggling in that too. But
Yeah.
anyway, so you love it because the whole Alabama thing, I have to hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was an advocate for people I was hired by the state, but I was contracted to do the job separate. So a lot of times I would actually be going to court against the state for the clients, even though state funds were paying you. So we had an annual contract that you would work without any fear of retribution, things like that. But my primary
Are
role
you going to court as a witness? Because I know you didn't go to law school, but
to advocate for different services
Okay.
and things because so they had money that was available to families on a waiver program.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it was for that, sometimes it was in relation to the school system. And I had children all the way up to people in their 70s who were in facilities. And so when I left, I think I had 24 families that I represented. And so you could do things. It might be that you were heading up their team. You may have their doctor's OT speech, whatever it was for that person. It may be somebody who was much more capable of living on their own, and you're helping them just with job programming, roommates, stuff like that. So it was a wide variety of services.
So you were advocating.
Advocating and putting together the programs and then advocating for the money to be allowed to be spent on what we felt like it needed to for those individuals.
Which is probably the biggest, speaking of this, somebody who works with her, is probably the biggest skill that is translated into insurance, that advocating piece.
right.
In terms of advocating for the client and that sort of thing.
Sure. And Natasha, I'm going to assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point you and your husband, ruggedly handsome David, moved to Alabama And when you do, that game's over because that career's over because we don't have the same programs they do for disabilities in Oklahoma. Is that kind of what happened?
That's kind of what happened. So when we moved, I looked in that field. To be honest, there were jobs that were available, not that specifically, but because of how far I used to be involved on a national level with an organization called People First. And so we went all over the nation, saw different things, and I had seen through that how far Alabama was behind. And so I talked to several people about jobs in the field, but I knew them being 20, 25 years behind how frustrated I would have been, and I didn't think that I could just do that anymore, to be honest, at that point. So what happened from there is I had a step relative who worked for Frank Millsaps at Millsaps and Associates.
Right.
And at the time, they weren't really hiring, but she was kind of like, hey, my cousin's here, whatever.
Sure.
It was really kind of just to get a job, kind of see what was going on. I hadn't been here in 20-something years, kind of not connected to my old connections.
Were you
kind
surprised
of thing.
about all the progress when you got here?
Not really.
It's not really, I know. So I went to work with them, and really kind of a chain of events happened there. We had a couple employees. They were kind of small, so they kind of had one girl with my cousin who did some commercial and then one that did personal lines. But these two young ladies had big life changes. One of them accepted a job somewhere else, moving into commercial, and then another one had a child who got cancer and was just kind of pulled out.
Checked out, yeah.
Yeah, and so that pretty much left just a few of us there at the office, and so they approached me and said, hey, can you, consider getting your license kind of thing. I started, I think it was December 20th, 2011, and not as fast as Kenneth, but I got licensed in February.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, Kenneth is like the speed record of all time. But,
Really?
But, yeah, so
I think
that
if
was...
we surveyed every licensed person in the United States of America on how fast they got licensed, he would probably be in the top 3.
Yeah, oh, for sure,
Easily.
for sure.
Wow. So you go to work for Millsaps and Associates, and you're there for a pretty good while. I mean, you're talking about 8 years, 7, 8 years, somewhere in that range. And I guess as the longer you're there, the more responsibility you take on, and you're a producer for them. And then you, at some point, start job dating with this guy right here sitting next to me, and you come over here 5.5 years ago, and I know now from the conversations you and I've had that, I don't think Bradley and I have really talked about, you'd always indicated to me that, you don't mind, you love producing business, but you're real passionate. You wanted to get into the more of that sales mentor role, agency mentoring people. And I think you tell me, has that been something that you've enjoyed? I know you're doing a little bit more of that now, right?
Yeah, I really love it because I see that's how Portal's going to really grow as far as with the staff we have. I mean, you can acquire more, but as far as growing with what we have, I think there's a lot of things we can implement just to work smarter with the business we already have.
Right.
And I think it's hugely important. I do think the social work background, back to when I did that. So I was late 20s, early 30s, and you're working with teams, and you've got staff in houses, which are, high school graduates, not a lot of training. They're kind of doing those jobs. But then you're sitting at a table with their OT and their PT or their doctor or a principal of a school. So there's a wide variety of people that you have to bring together for a common goal of this family and this person. And I think that's where my people skills, I don't know if we got that deep into it before, but I think that's where my ability to really connect people. And if I can transfer that over to our staff, I think it's huge, because you had mentioned earlier, just in talking about here, us all selling the same products here. In our area, that's true. So to try to sell insurance is I mean, nobody wants to buy insurance. I don't want to. I don't want to buy insurance.
Right. Yeah.
So, but being able to teach the staff to connect with people.
Sure.
And it's very small ways. Like I try to show them. I joked with Bradley that I was going to have a training on if somebody's email, what it ends in, if it's AOL, Rocket Mail, Gmail, like that's a whole different person. Like you need to know what that
if
means.
somebody's email ends in AOL, they're not going to text
if somebody
us
mentions
about
MySpace,
their renewal.
it's a whole different thing. So that kind of thing, if I'm talking to somebody and they have kids in college. Well, so do I. So I can connect
Sure.
off that, or, whatever it is. First time buyers. Well, I know what that feels like. Have kids looking to do that. So you have to connect with people in some sort of other personal way, I think. And then you're really selling you as a person, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's back up a little bit and talk about how you ended up here, the chain of events. So I originally met her at a BNI group.
Okay.
It was a BNI startup group, and it was awful.
It was awful.
I've never
was
been in a
terrible.
BNI that wasn't awful.
It was.
Imagine
This one was
imagine
special.
a PTA meeting, but worse.
Yeah.
Um,
About right.
and it was her and her mom. Her mom was a realtor, and she was the insurance
That's why I was
agent.
there.
She was the commercial agent.
My
And
mama
I
made
was-
my mama made me guess.
So you just threw the shot across the bow that where I think BNI really screwed up is they got greedy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about from a national standpoint.
Yeah.
Because 10 or 15 years ago, when BNI was really big, you would have a BNI group, and there would be one insurance agent in that group.
Yeah.
And then about 10 years ago, they decided, well, wait a minute. We need to get more members so we can make more money.
Yep.
And they started doing this thing where it was like, okay, we can have a home and auto insurance agent,
Yeah.
a commercial insurance agent, and a life insurance agent.
And then,
Yeah.
and then you have
And
employee
it sort of watered it
benefits and
down.
health. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And it was
but
all a money grab.
I was the personal agent. Her mom was the real estate agent.
Sure.
She was the commercial agent.
Sure.
And I remember thinking, good Lord, like
Yeah.
the only realtor in here, her
Yeah.
daughter is the commercial. She's not going
Exactly.
to send anything to me, So that's how we
Correct.
originally met.
Yeah.
And her office was a stone's throw from my Alpha office.
Right.
And so we started Portal. I get a phone call from a mortgage lender. I remember exactly where I was. I was at Daphne's Gymnastics. My daughter had gymnastics class. And he called me, and I think he kind of called me without your permission.
Yeah, kind of.
And it was because she shared an office with the mortgage broker.
He leased an office in our
Yeah.
office.
And he was like, hey, I got a producer I think you need to hire. And in my head, I was thinking, please say Natasha, please say Natasha, please say Natasha. Because I knew she was right there. I knew she was really good. And it was. And so that's kind of how we got rolling.
Yeah.
Can I ask the two of you a question that just kind of came to my head that I've joked about this before, but I want to ask you how this can be. So I've worked in a lot of insurance offices, and I've worked in big ones, and I've worked in small ones, and I've worked for a State Farm agent for a year and a half, and I've been in a Randy Jones $100 million office where, the phone never stops ringing, never. So our agency, I Protect Insurance, we are constantly running around, hair on fire. Somebody's SOS texting me about this huge problem. There's a guy at the Athens office wants to whip everybody's ass. House just burned down. Claim got denied. Mr. Johnson says he's coming to Priceville to beat everybody's ass. It is like working at a fire station where there's constantly a fire. Then I drive 5.5 hours to Mobile, and every 2 months I walk into Portal Insurance. This place is like a library. The phone I've never heard a phone ring. Now I know I'm in here a lot, but how is that? Like everybody's like chilling out and calm, and I joked that time I walked outside and Kenneth's on the couch reading War and Peace for lunch. Everybody's smiling, eating king cake, and like, what the hell is going on here?
You
Like,
just
what?
created the best ad for recruiting ever for me.
Yeah.
It's like
I know.
this insurance utopia where every time I talk to Bradley, y'all have grown by another $500,000 in premium. You never have a claim. The phone never rings. Everybody's just kind of
I can answer that.
what are y'all doing?
So we have our moments, okay?
For sure.
There are the moments.
How's the phone not ring here ever? Or y'all have some kind of soft phone where it doesn't ring? Or?
So whether it be lenders or clients, we kind of are proactive and train everybody to work with us. and we're big on target clients. So
Whoa,
like,
whoa. We ain't even got to that. You're 2 steps ahead of me. I want to know how I've been here 6,000 times, and I have never once heard a phone ring in this place.
because they know they can text and email us. They don't have to call.
So people don't even call?
Some call.
We probably got 14 phone calls since 8:30 this morning.
So everything she's saying is correct. We do get less phone calls than if you compared us to another agency that was our same size. We do get less because of the text and the email.
Are you training people in new business to just don't call us, text us?
We set the expectation almost subliminally in our onboarding of like, hey,
If you need something, text
we
us.
owe, I actually had
The hell is going on?
it's the front door. We actually have I had a person email me this morning. I forwarded it to you. Somebody said, hey, I'm with such and such agency. My policy lapses every year because they dropped the ball. I'm like, well, that's just under communicating. And I can confidently tell that person, you ain't gonna have that problem with us because if anything, we over communicate.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the text and the emails over communicating that it almost forces the customer to be like, oh, I need to text these people. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's setting that up from the get-go. Now, what I will say is when we acquired the agency in January, it was not set up that way, and so our phone calls did increase substantially.
Okay.
But the reason you don't hear the phone ring is because we buy everybody AirPods, and the AirPods connects to the cell phone.
Gotcha.
Except for old people like me who don't want to use that.
Yeah, but we do have less phone calls.
So
than
they're
the
sitting
average.
at their desks here, and they've got AirPods in.
Most of them do.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we do get way less communication. Like, when we bought the agency in January, I mean, they were talking to us about, oh yeah, such and such customer came in today and cussed us out, and we're like, we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's all about how you set that relationship up.
Yeah,
Right
I've never
answer for
seen
you.
that before. Do you agree with anything
yeah.
to add to that?
Yeah, just in general, like, and Megan, our service manager, and Kenneth, our operations manager, are both great at this. We all come together all the time, and we're always talking about ways and we can help mentor staff to be proactive. And we tell them, because nobody wants to fire. You don't want the people mad at you. How do you stop that from happening? So we train really heavy on that, and it's an ongoing process. We all learn, they learn, but that's why, because we're proactive. We don't want fires. We don't. It wastes everybody's time. You're wasting all of your time, and even your headspace. That's what I try to tell them. You get somebody mad at you, well, then you want to go tell your coworker they were mad. Well, then they're focusing on something that's productive, and now they're thinking about this dramatic thing, and it trickles down this big negative thing. So just clearing your headspace and staying more positive and being proactive.
And
is
to that
the goal.
point, that's one of the things that we love to do at I Protect more than anything in the world is you get this client who wants to skin off in everybody's front yard and fist fight, and you get the agent that wrote the policy involved, the claims manager involved, now Scott's involved, and so we've got like 4 people on this bad claim that's gone sideways, or the carrier's not going to pay it for whatever reason because, unpopular opinion, strictly my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, it feels like carriers are looking for ways not to pay claims today because of what all's gone on over the past 5 years, and we're adding all these modified policy forms and roof surface endorsements and
Roof schedule
and,
payments.
and here comes the big reveal. The hail damage report that shows that, oh yeah, you got hail damage from 24 months ago, but your policy says you got to report a claim in 12 months.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not paying it. So now you got 4 or 5 people spending countless 3-4 hours a day working in tandem and separately to try to help this client, and you're spinning your wheels, you're not being productive, it's just not good. And that's what we like to do at I Protect. That's just another area where we need vast improvement on is like, okay, I realize you wrote the policy and I realize you've gotten in the boat with this client, and, you know, every client will say, well, Natasha, I didn't buy insurance from Travelers. I bought it from you. And now they've denied my freaking claim. If you don't fix this, I'm coming up there skin off in the front yard. What would you say to Scott in terms of how he can fix that?
Again, back to like the proactive stuff, like it's worried me with all the new policies with the roof schedules and the, you know, all that stuff. So especially with the newer, younger buyers and stuff, they really don't understand all that. So like trying to explain that and just conveying to them, like it's not a maintenance policy. This is not to get you a new roof when your roof is old. This is not, you know, this when your air conditioner breaks. Like, that's just not what this is. It's not a warranty. It's, you know.
But see, now you're doling out moral life lessons.
Yeah.
And my clients don't want moral life lessons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the beginning, before the claim.
I'm like,
before the
I had
claim.
one last week, got denied, had hail damage.
Yeah.
Roof's 25 years old. And it took every fiber of my being not to go, dude, do you realize you've had that roof on that house 25 freaking years?
Yeah.
This insurance policy, I realize you got some hail damage, right? But it's time to replace your damn roof, man.
Right.
But they're pissed off that insurance isn't going to cover it, which rolls right back into your comment about everybody wants to use their homeowner's insurance as a maintenance policy.
Yeah. But see, having those conversations before there's a claim up front, like when you're selling policies, just throwing out that sort of information to where people know. And I know you can't do it every time. I had one similar to that. It was the same thing. I think theirs was 29 years old, and I'm thinking like you need it. You know, it was just a regular comp shingle roof. Like you needed a new roof anyway. Those are difficult, and you just have to go through them. But yeah, people want to pay no matter what.
Now let's move into what you had started talking about when I interrupted you, to just go back to why I've been here 600 times and never heard a phone ring. You were talking about your client avatars and who you guys go after, the type of client you want. Talk a little bit about that now. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I had to go back to the start, which was, why have I come in this office and never heard a damn phone ring? Not one time. Talk a little bit about what you guys want in terms of clients.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, we want to help anybody, and we do try to help everybody, but we're not really set up for the more manual clients who want to bring in payments, do things paper, come in, that sort of thing. And just from a sales side, just being like selfish, to be honest, if you think about it, the younger people who do things fast, text, that sort of thing, they're also the people who are least likely, in my opinion, to change things. Like my kids, if they escrow their homeowner's insurance,
Done.
It's done. And I mean,
unless it goes up by like 100% or something.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, like they're not doing it because they don't stop long enough to do it. So from even a retention standpoint, having those sorts of clients is better. But definitely ones that understand the automation, the texts, and the electronic signatures and that kind of thing. It's not that we won't ever. We do have a few people that we work with, but those are definitely more the type of clients that we're looking for.
Normally, you know, that lost business report that Kenneth sends me, we were looking at it. Normally, when I see we lose something, 80% of the policies on there, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It's not our
sold risk or moved out of state.
No, it's like, no, it may be somebody that, you know, is the type of person that wants to come in the office, or they couldn't figure out the e-signature, or they were a butthole, you know that.
Sure, no, trust me, I got lots of them.
And one thing we did, and I'll pull it up actually, we did this a couple years ago, and this is called The List, is we sat down, it was 2 or 3 hours, I think, and we went through every single niche that we had, personal and commercial, okay? And so, like, the first one on here is new home purchaser, right? We've always done new home purchases. We always will. We're really good at it. And we did geographically, demographic, and psychographic. So where they are, who they are, and how they think.
Wow.
So, like, new home purchaser, geographic, Mobile and Baldwin County. Demographic, financially sound and easily buying the home. I don't want the person that has to get the 10% hurricane deductible to get the DTI down so they can.
Right.
And there's a lot of lenders in this area that we have worked with that we'll let them refer to us. But
It's kind of
we're
a
not-
non-standard
we're not
lender.
pursuing them
Yeah.
because they're always the ones that have the DTI issues. And then psychographic is values, ease of use, wants us to just handle it. I've always said, if you want the insurance agent that you want to come in the office and drink a cup of coffee and have them explain every line item to you, we're not your people.
Right.
If I look at insurance as you look at your attorney or your CPA, you do not expect your attorney or your CPA to explain every law. You're going to pay them and they're going to act in your best interest.
Sure.
That's the type of client I want. Easy to deal with and responsive.
Love it.
I had a friend, actually, a very good friend, that we lost he was in my wedding.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You mean the wedding I was at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only wedding I've had.
I know. I'm just saying.
He lost his, we lost his business, and we sent him 3 text messages about his renewal and probably called that it was going up and we needed to remarket it. He didn't respond to any of them, so it renewed with the company it was with
Right.
at about $1,000 increase.
Right.
And he was pissed off at us.
Yeah.
And
Happens to us
told
all
him,
the
I was
time.
like, man, love you, appreciate you. Probably not the best fit for you if you're not going to communicate back. It's not going to be a great relationship.
So
And let me go through a couple more of these real quick. So, small to medium trucking, geographic Alabama. We've expanded that since then. Experienced, responsible, currently insured. All commercial insurance, we want one point of contact. I don't want to talk to 15 people to try and get something done.
Right.
You know, a lot of these big real estate groups are like that.
Yeah.
You know, this person tells you one thing, this person tells you another. Up front with us, does not lie. We turned down a large trucking risk last week that was not upfront with us about something. We discovered it and she walked away from it. And this was
It's like 36.
yeah, it's a decent size one. Psychographic.
Can we stop right there 1 second?
Hang on 1 second. Thinks like a business owner.
yeah.
I don't want them to think like a guy with a truck or a guy with a rental property or that sort of thing. Thinks like a business owner, receptive to training, willingness to provide the info. So that was a big thing. We went through every single niche. We probably need to update it. And it's just who they are, where they are, how they think.
Right.
And this is provided to our team. So it's like a honed in of like, we run through those 3 filters. And I'm not going to say that we won't write something every now and then that doesn't fit that,
Sure.
but we at least need to see the potential for it. You know, can we change your thinking a little bit to, okay, let's stop thinking about insurance as just this extra thing you have to do. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I 1,000%
Sorry, what
get
were you
it.
going to say?
Well, it's just what I was going to say was love all of that. I think that's fantastic. But, you know, you can write down whatever you want to write down. But then the onus is on your agency force
100%.
to follow through and be willing to walk away from that trucking company or that person who's not a good fit for your agency. And if they're unwilling to do that, then what ends up happening is your eye protect and you end up with a crap ton of a book of business of problem children.
Understand.
Right. Like, you know, the one of my triple no-goes is like anytime somebody calls the agency and speaks to an agent, wants a quote on insurance, and the first thing they do is start bad-mouthing their former agent. Because you can guarantee they're going to do that to you next time.
Yeah. Kind of like when a job candidate badmouths the former
Correct.
company.
Yeah. If they, because, you know, people call and they'll be like, I need a quote on insurance.
Well,
this damn agent I have over here, I can't get them to do anything, and they know that, blah, 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 blah. Well, you just know they're going to be a problem, and if they ever have a claim, they're going to be even a bigger problem.
That's what ticks me off in like Insurance Soup or IEOA when I see somebody bad mouthing one of their competitors. Like, I wrote this client. Can you believe this agent did this? And I'm like, we need to start giving each other the benefit of the doubt, because a lot of 90% of the time the client is at fault for whatever went wrong.
Correct.
Or the insurance company did something stupid.
So how do you, I guess my point in what I just said was, how do you guys as a team, leadership team, instill these not core values, these principles of who we want to write, but then one thing I've noticed about insurance, the bigger you get as an agency, the less you're able to keep your thumb on everybody to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, because you're working on buying an agency and she's working on this big trucking account and y'all are both busy. And meanwhile, old boy out here is writing a 75-year-old guy with an AOL address that, cusses everybody out when he calls the office. So how do you instill those client avatar principles into your people and then feel okay about cutting them loose to have their AirPods in and write that business and know that they're going to write good business?
I think back to what you said, you were saying being able to watch them, have your finger on them, whatever. One thing that Bradley, I think, does a great job is that he's got people in place that he trusts. Like a lot of the stuff you were saying about the big fires and stuff, there's stuff that's a fire for weeks that he don't even know about. Like sometimes Kenneth, me, Megan, we don't even bring it to him unless it's at a point that like we feel like because as the owner portal, he just has to know. So he doesn't even know. There's stuff that happens that we clear up all the time that he has no idea.
From a managerial side of things, their job is to keep it from making its way to me.
So from that portion of it.
Did you tell him that?
No, but I mean, that's what our role is. And he's entrusted us with that. And we know what his expectations are. And you have to earn the trust over time. We're not like everybody at Portal run Renegade and do that. But for the people in his leadership team that he knows he can trust. And then from the employee side, for me, when we have instances of how that something's went bad, I mean, I have literally sat down and looked at it and said, okay, I want to show you this. We've talked to them 17 times. We've texted. We've emailed.
Yep.
This policy was $736.
We talking about a client or we talking about an employee?
Employee.
Okay.
This policy was $736.
Right.
So
yeah, we made $36 off this policy.
Yeah, for the year. You
made
$11. So let's look at this. What could you have done in that time? And like we've gotten that granular with it. Not every time, but I'm saying enough to where their mindset starts thinking, oh, and not that you don't want to write little policies. We write little policies, but I'm not writing $700 policies at people who are just jerky. Like, I mean, we're not doing that.
I think too, the way that our structure is, the way our systems are built out, if a producer writes someone that it's not a target client, something's going to go wrong.
Right.
They're gonna be like, oh, I don't need to do that. I put my hand on the stove. I ain't gonna do that again.
Right.
Luke touched the fireplace the other day. He's like, I ain't doing that again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's really like the key for me is like they all that stuff too. But like they'll see like, oh wow, this just didn't work. It's like one telltale is if somebody's like, I don't want to do this e-signature. I can't figure this out. That's a telltale. And we're not necessarily going to walk away from it. We're going to try and help them, but it's a good indication that if we were client scoring, those would be the single A clients, not the triple A.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Natasha, I had a question for you.
Yes.
In your role as director of sales, are you getting as granular as a weekly report that shows you how many outbound phone calls your salespeople made?
We see
listening to phone calls to see, do these people know what the hell they're talking about? How are they selling?
Yeah.
Do they need improvement?
So we were doing that for a while where I was listening to calls. Megan, now that she's doing the service manager role, has taken over listening to more of the calls, but then she'll show me stuff and we talk about it. But yes, we do. To kind of train, we don't, go to them necessarily right that second, like, hey, but whether we can build that into training. And there have been a few instances where I think even Bradley once did have to sit down with somebody and kind of go through the call because it was pretty bad. But yes, we do that. We do that.
Here's everything you did wrong.
Yeah.
It's going to be painful because people don't like listening to themselves recorded.
Yeah.
Here's everything you did wrong. I've stopped listening to phone calls altogether, and I use that Lightspeed transcription thing.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Transcribes the calls, summarizes it, categorizes it, positive, negative, neutral. All the negative calls automatically go to me, and I just review all the. And if I see something that piques my interest, I listen to it.
The only thing I don't like about that is I like to listen to tonality.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
We can still listen to
how
it.
you can read on a transcription versus what somebody sounds like in that call from a tonality standpoint, that makes difference too. It's interesting. So what
Especially on sales.
Yeah. As you guys continue to grow, because you're growing and growing and he's buying agencies, do you feel like your role here is going to just continue to evolve and change, or do you feel like you're in your pocket and this is where you need to be and what you need to be doing?
I think it'll grow and change. I mean, I would hope that it would move more towards being able to do the mentoring as we get bigger. Mm-hmm. And now I'm kind of a hybrid. I say doing both. I still enjoy selling. I don't think I would ever not want to sell, but I'm still really in the grind of it all. One thing that's been really great is since we've kind of broken the service off, because I used to get into a lot of that.
What do you mean by broken the service off?
Where we actually have Megan being like the service manager. And so instead of me looking at every single thing that happens, she's looking at those things. And then me and Kenneth and her work together on things, whether it be something he needs to fix operations wise on the processes or something that she sees from the sales side. Like she'll share it with me. So that's been helpful.
So she's managing all the account managers pretty much. And if they have a problem, they go to her.
She is their boss.
I will say this. I've been in insurance now for, I believe, 17 years, maybe 18. I don't remember. I don't think I've ever seen a collective group of people that are so laid back and so seems as though they all enjoy what they're doing. They don't seem to have a lot of stress. They don't seem to have a lot of pressure. Now, I will say this, and I've said this on a couple of podcasts recently. The one bugaboo that y'all don't have that it's going to happen. As the agency continues to evolve, I probably have 4 employees that have, a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, 11-year-old. And I don't think you guys have that yet. And that has been a real challenge for me to walk that tight wire of being understanding that I got to pick the kids up every day at 3:00. I've got to take the kids to school. Doctor's appointment. Oh, I got to leave because parent-teacher conference, emergency parent-teacher conference.
Yeah.
And that's a tightrope that I don't wish upon anybody to have to deal with, because you're trying to manage that and be empathetic and understanding while also understanding that we got a business to run here. And we need to be open during business hours when our people need something. Okay. And that's there are going to be some times when y'all are like, oh, this is tough. The person does a pretty good job. They don't do it. Huh?
You know what we do?
What?
We just don't hire people with kids.
No.
I'm joking.
Smartest-
We don't do that. We
so
don't do that.
decision you've
Megan
ever made.
has 4
We
kids. I
don't
don't
do
know
that.
if you knew that. And the oldest is 11. So she just turned 11. So she actually has 4 all the way down.
So y'all are kind of dealing with that with her
well,
to some degree.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job.
No,
with it.
she's doing a great job with
And
it.
some people manage it better than others.
So I think it is hard. And again, got to set the expectations. Early on, we used to have a different, way that we did the PTO time and all that stuff. And it was more open. And it wasn't that people were really intentionally taking advantage, but
you could see it coming.
you could see it coming.
I just changed all of our PTO, and I led the email out with, we can't have nothing nice. I tried to be democratic about it.
Yeah.
I tried to let y'all have input. We had a couple of people last year in our agency that took 30 and 40 days off last year.
You can't do that.
And I led the email off with, here's the new PTO schedule. And we can't have nothing nice because y'all are going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So it's not on me. It's on you. You're the one, y'all the ones that wanted it the way you wanted it. We were doing this thing where, you know, if you ran out of PTO, but it was, let's say, middle of the year, you'd build up hours so you had more PTO and all this. Nope. We've
Just a
got flat PTO. And I told them, I said, about second paragraph of me explaining the new PTO schedule and how it superseded anything in your employment agreement. I said, don't get it twisted. If you run out of PTO, which I think 0 to 5 years with the agency, you got 17 days of PTO, which is beyond fair, right?
It is. Yeah. There's people that work at companies 30 years that don't get that much.
100%. I said, you run out of PTO and you want to take a 2-week vacation to Ireland, have the hell at it. Mm-hmm. I'm just not paying you for it. It's not going. I'm not paying you. I'm not paying you after you've blown through your 17 days of PTO to go on a 2-week vacation to Ireland. You can, you know, you can do it, but you're not going to get paid for it.
Yeah.
But I tried to be democratic. I let here again, Scott gets taken advantage of. I try to let everybody have input, and this is how we want to do it. And okay, well, we tried it last year, and they can't have nothing nice because they take advantage of it. So here we are. As you can tell, listeners, I'm becoming very, very jaded, both towards my employees and towards my clients. And I don't know where this ends, but I can promise you one thing. The year of our Lord, 2025, my people are going, and my clients are going to see the asshole of which they have never seen before. They're going to get Marine Corps Scott Howell, who Natasha and I just had a conversation outside these double doors. She said, my husband hates work, Natasha. And I said, Natasha, my wife, I wish we ought to call her right now, is what we ought to do. She tells me there is nothing in this world I hate more than work Scott because he is a freaking asshole. And I don't want to be that way. I want to be laid back and work for Portal and sit around and read War and Peace and put my AirPods in and be relaxed. But that's just not where we are at iProtect. That's just not where we are. So I think this year they're going to get a lot more Marine Corps Scott, which means because I have so many people in my agency that are hypersensitive, they will tell you they're hypersensitive. The problem with that, Scott doesn't work well with hypersensitive people. You know, if I can't give you, if I can't say Rand, if I can't just give Rand constructive criticism, okay, or an idea, why don't we try it this way? And you get your feelings hurt about it.
Yeah.
You probably need to go work somewhere else.
I think too, hiring, I was going to say this earlier.
But it all rolls back to good people. You got great people here. That's been my mantra for the past 2 years is this whole thing starts with hiring great people.
If I don't have many skills, the ones I have, if you were to wave a magic wand and say you can only keep one
skill,
recruiting.
Yeah.
I think that is one thing that I don't know that I'm naturally good at it. I think I've done it enough that I'm kind of hitting my stride with and all of us collectively together.
Sure.
You know, we all interview together. So the last interview is me, Natasha, Kenneth, and Megan with the candidate. But I think hiring, and people throw out the word culture, the frou-frou, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think hiring with culture in mind, and is this person a fit, not necessarily personality-wise, more attitude and motivations-wise, is very important. You know, we bought the agency in January. We kind of said, like, okay, this is what you get when you don't hire with culture in mind and you give anybody a job. This one, because he had 9 people, and about 8 of them shouldn't have been working together.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just this like hodgepodge of different personalities that didn't gel, and you know, we really try and hire from the standpoint of is this person going to fit in well with what we have going? Are they a self-starter? Are they a motivator?
Right.
And at any moment in time, we may have somebody who is a little bit of a straggler. And Natasha and I had a conversation this morning, like, hey, we need to, you know, this person needs a little bit of accountability. And it's a moving target. It's whack-a-mole.
Right.
You know, you have 3 employee issues pop up. You fix those, 3 more pop up.
Right.
But one thing that I've been doing a lot of is we use that Tony Robbins disc assessment.
Sure.
And the mistake I used to make was I would not hire people based on the assessment. Like a year ago, moving forward, I will never discount a candidate because of the assessment.
Yeah.
But I use that to show me how they fit in and how to motivate them.
Yeah.
But one thing we've been doing is we have been using ChatGPT. We upload everybody's disc assessment in there, ask for an analysis.
Wow.
And then if we have a new candidate, I upload that assessment in there. And I say, how does this person fit in with these people? Who are they going to work best with? Who are they going to have a conflict with?
What else do you ask ChatGPT when you ask to give a summary of their personality? Is that kind of...
I just ask for a summary.
Okay.
And I explain the role.
Yeah.
I'll say one mistake
That's
I think
smart.
people make with ChatGPT is they treat it like Google.
Yeah.
You need to treat it like it's a person.
Right.
You
Right.
have to give it you have to say, hey, we're an
hiring
insurance
for this.
agency.
Yeah.
This is the role. This is what this role does. This is what we're what we're swapping a little bit, and this was Natasha's idea, to pairing account managers up with producers.
Yep.
Where in the past it's always been like anybody.
Yeah. Team. Yeah. More of a team.
So now it's like, Natasha's working with this person working with this person.
Yep.
And so what we did is we uploaded everybody's discs in there, and we said, hey, I explained what we were doing.
Sure.
And I said, tell me who is going to work best with who. And I kid you not, we did it in real time. The people that it paired up with
were the people y'all paired them
were
with.
the people that the producer asked to work with.
Have a damn.
Yeah. And we did it multiple ways, like to see if the order would still come out the same.
Sure.
And it was the same.
And I said, who would they least work with? And it gave me different answers, And so it's not like, oh, this person are going to fight. It's just like based on this person's personality. The other thing I did is I said, I told ChatGPT, I said, because what I thought it was doing is it was taking a strength and a strength. So I said, here's what I want you to do. After it gave me the pairings, I said, compare Natasha's strengths to a weakness that this account manager has, because those fit hand in glove. Compare Natasha's weakness, not that she doesn't have many, to this person's strength, and it gave the same answers.
Right.
But
it was super helpful.
But she's been a godsend for us. I mean, there's not many business owners that I think can have somebody that works at their company that cares about it just as much as they do. And I think I got really, really lucky with.
Same with Kenneth.
Same, and Megan. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you one thing. I was talking to Matt Namoy last week, and we were talking about leadership teams. And I said, I think one of my distinct advantages, and this was 100% by accident, is it's very, very easy to surround yourself with a leadership team of yes men and women.
Absolutely.
And we do not have that here. They are,
Sure.
They are, and I make it safe for them to do this.
Right.
But they are not scared to push back. They are not scared to tell me that, hey, this is a dumb idea. They're not scared to tell me, hey, this is where we're screwing up, and all that stuff.
So I'm going to ask you the question Bradley has mentioned before. We're gonna we'll act like Bradley's not even here. If I waved a magic wand and I turned you into the CEO of Portal Insurance, what would you change about it?
Well,
I'll put headphones on so I can't hear.
no.
Just pretend like I can't hear, even though I can.
No. No, I mean, the thing is, and this is honest, I was thinking about a second ago when y'all were talking, like from training for all of it, even down to how people do days off, we create a vision that we stay true to at Portal. We revisit it. We just had a whole planning day with leadership the other day. That's something we're going to do quarterly now. We have meetings with the staff, with the service, together, with sales, all those things. And the thing is I think we do a good job of getting that vision, and that trickles down all the way. Like people, they want to take days off, whatever, but like my producers, I talk to them like, what are you trying to accomplish? We We got holding a young guy. He's, buying land, trying to build a house, trying to do things. It's not all just money. Yeah, we all want money. We all want whatever. But
See the guy up here?
in Georgia.
Atlanta.
Oh, that's the okay. What's this gentleman?
That's Gabe.
Gabe. That's
Him
right.
too, but he's got a kid. So what are their motivators? What are they trying to do? What are they working towards? That kind of thing. And then, and now I'm getting off, but I'm gonna get back to your thing because I have a point. So we look at that and try to help them to see. So like, okay, Holden, you want to make as much as I make producing. What do you need to do that?
Right.
Well, you got to come to work. You got to be consistent. You can't sell a lot one day and nothing for 2 weeks.
Right.
And like he's grown tremendously lately. So it's really us getting that vision, showing them, and that helps in all of those realms. The one thing, and we've already talked about this, that I would change is we definitely have some room for inside sales because we have so many leads coming in.
Right.
Inside sales and just more time for training with staff and mentoring.
Yeah.
With me being some of the hybrid, those would be my two.
Well, what I was going to say is she didn't need to answer that question because all the things that she would change we're already doing. Like that's what, you know what I mean? Like they have complete authority as long as we can collectively get somewhat on the same page. I'm a hey, try it guy. I probably say that more in the like they'll give me an idea. I'm like, all right, let's try it. We can always swap back. I think the mistake a lot of agencies and businesses make is when they do try stuff that doesn't work, they don't swap back. You know what I mean?
And we stop doing stuff that doesn't work quite often. I mean, like, because, Kenneth is awesome on process and stuff, and he'll set us up stuff. Well, then we'll try to use it, and we're like, okay, that's working like 80% for this, but can we tweak this? Because, if you're the one in there doing it, and I'm not either, we have the CSRs telling us, okay, this doesn't, work, or it's too cumbersome because can we simplify it or whatever? Well, then Megan and I go back to Kenneth and say, hey, these are the things, and then he goes back and adjusts it so it works for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but
well, and I think nothing like keeps people more committed to you too. If they're telling you stuff as a CSR, like, hey, this is making my job easier, and they see 2 weeks from now we change something that makes their job easier, that goes a long way.
Yeah, I know what I was going to say. So I interviewed a producer that's local here last year a couple times, and I would meet with her, and she would just tell me about all these issues they had that pissed her off. And I said, we have all those same issues too.
Yeah,
but we fix them, and that's the difference. Like the issues you're talking about, every agency has. The people you work for are just not proactive about fixing the issues. It's like, and that's the kind of the dirty secret of insurance. The reason so many agencies are average. The reason that the big technology companies in insurance are so far behind technology companies in other industries is because the business is so good that everybody makes so much money that they're fat and happy, and nobody's pushing for change. And they're like, hey, why do we need to, why do we need to update our system when all these people are, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so it's very easy when you have issues in an agency to say, well, yeah, we have these problems, but we had our EBITDA was 35% last year, 40%. Why do we need to change them? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's my thought. So,
Natasha, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, this was fun.
Guys, as I end every episode,
make this a regular guest.
I would love that. As I end every show, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out in the big bad world. Make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund, for your parents and your in-laws like mine that are struggling out there today. Go make money for them. Right good. I'm about to die. Right good
I'm
business.
convinced you're going to die on the air one day.
Oh, 100%.
No.
Right good business for the agencies that you represent, and right good business for the companies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Natasha.
Bradley ever tell you he loves you?
I don't say those. I don't say
He
those
don't say
words.
that to me neither.
He shows love.
There you
He
go.
shows love. That's what matters.
Understood.
Yeah,
Actions.
tell him.
Actions.
Yeah.
Guys, you were listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.